I am going to just run through, for those on the watching this at a later time, I'm just going to run through how to access the page, the expanding engagement grant page. So again, if you go to the Age Strong Commission's main page, about a third of the way down, you'll see the expanding engagement grant opportunity, and a button where you can click to learn more. So over here on the right hand side, we've got some information. This is just the Age Strong phone number and office wide email and our location. Down here, you'll see Sydney's email address. So any questions that don't get answered during this session or that don't get asked during this session, please feel free to send them over to Sydney at this email address. She'll be fielding them and involving me and others from our team in answering them. Applications are due by Thursday, February 29th at 5 p.m. We cannot accept any applications that are due after or that are submitted after that date and time, so please be mindful of that. Here we've got a little bit of a description of the purpose of this grant, and the real purpose of all of the grants that we are excited to make through this program is expanding social engagement opportunities across the city of Boston, and really thinking about how do we make social engagement opportunities accessible to older adults all over the city. So more about the grant, we have here we've got priorities listed, grant eligibility. One requirement for anyone who is applying for a grant through the city is that an applicant must be either a Boston-based nonprofit 501c3 or have a fiscal sponsor. So just a note about that. We've got some information about the grant. These funds are coming out of the city's operating budget, the Age Strong Commission's operating budget. The grant period will run April 2024 to 2025. There's not a specific date on there, just because it will be the grant period will start when the award is made. So more to come on that down the road. Again, the application deadline is February 29th at 5 p.m. So something different about the expanding engagement grant this year, which we're really excited about. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. If folks could just make sure that they're muted. If you're not speaking, that'd be terrific. Thank you. So something that's exciting about this year's grant is, well, to me anyway, to our team, is that we've got 3 different levels of grants to help guide applicants in their application process. So what you'll see if you haven't already clicked on the application is that there's a question that says, which level grant are you applying for? And then based on your response to that, it'll take you to questions that will kind of naturally level 1 applicants will have to respond to fewer questions than level 2 and level 3. So we're kind of looking for more information as the level increases. How to apply. So this is information about the session. In this area, you'll see after this meeting, we will upload the recording from this session here, so you'll be able to refer back to it. We will also include a question and answer document that you can refer to. We will periodically update the Q&A document to include any new questions that we receive from interested applicants. And then we've got the timeline here, which is, we've gone through a lot of it, so pretty self-explanatory. So I am going to now click on this Apply Now button. This will take you to the application. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at it, but if not, there's plenty of time to do that. Give me a moment while it loads. All right, so the application is in a Google form. And it has pretty much the information that's on that main page is all in here as well. So you can look at it here. If you click up here on this link, it'll just take you to our home page. Something that'll be useful if you scroll down. So a lot of folks who, look at a form, I know that this includes me, when I look at a form that has required sections for responses, you need to put information in order to get to the next section or the next page of the form. So what we've done is we've provided a link here that'll take you to a Google document with all of the questions. So you can prepare your application before coming into the form and submitting everything and going through that. So I will click on that to show you what that looks like. And if you do choose to use this, which I encourage everyone to take a look at this and kind of work in this document before going to the Google form, make sure you're making a copy or downloading it as a Word document, whatever is best for you, so then you can type directly into it. Again, so this is exactly what the application looks like. It's got all the information you've already seen, and it breaks it up by level. So you've got level 1, and there are some questions that are asked for every level. So you'll see that those are the same. And then if you scroll down, it'll take you to program information and service populations. And this is where we get into more specific questions about your program or project. Oh, sorry. That first section is those are the same questions across all 3 levels. This is where it'll take you to the specific questions. So what we've done here is we've got bookmarks. So when you get down to this funding level, either you can scroll down to find the page where the questions for that funding level start, or you can click on one of these bookmarks and it should take you down to that page, right? So then you can put your information in here, and prepare your budget. We've got a budget template. So for level 1, you'll see that we're not looking for you to fill out a big budget because they're smaller grants. So we are just asking for you to type to let us know what you're looking for, what amount are you requesting, and to provide a budget narrative. So telling us how you intend to spend those funds. For the evaluation for level 1 grants, we are looking at a grant summary at the end of the grant period. So that's what we'll expect from any grantees, any level 1 grantees. For level 2 and level 3, it's a little bit different. For both of these level grants, we're looking for budgets. So we're looking for a narrative, but also for you to complete a grant budget. So let me open that up for you here. And here it is. I just want to highlight over here in column A, we've got some programmatic expenses, some ideas that you might be using these funds for. So salaries and wages, equipment, fringe and benefits, supplies, other materials, transportation, etc. Those may not align with what you are proposing to spend these funds on. So if that's the case, then go ahead and type in, replace these with what you actually would like to spend the funds on, okay? And if you need to add more rows, that's okay too. All right. Okay. Oops. All right, so that budget template is available for you to use. Please do use that template for your budget. I know some people like to work in other budgets. It's really helpful for us when we're reviewing to have a consistent format across the board. So please do use that budget. And then for evaluation, what we'll be looking for level 2 and level 3 grants are quarterly reports. So that will be in the form of a Google form, and we'll ask a series of questions. And what we'll be looking for is responses kind of based on your application and the implementation of what you applied for and what you were awarded. So again, you'll see that level 2 has the same information down here. We'll also be looking for a an evaluation summary at the end of the funding period that really kind of reflects on the full grant period and the program as a whole. One piece of advice that I'd like to give everyone as they're thinking about this application and thinking about projects and programs that they would like to write into this application is to really think about implementation. So we know that you have incredible ideas and creative ideas, and that's why we're doing this. That's why we love putting out grant programs like this, because you are in the communities, you have trust built with consumers, you know what the needs are, you know what the gaps are, and your ideas are the best ideas. So that's why we love doing this. But something that's really important to think about as you're writing out your application is, how does this translate to implementation? If we're awarded this full grant amount, then we obviously are committed to doing this. And what does that look like? And I think one way to think about implementation is to anticipate any barriers and to kind of think through those and plan for those and talk about those in your application and talk about how that'll be addressed. And just one example of that is hiring. So something that I think are all feeling, probably everyone on here, is the challenge around hiring for our programs and our work. And so thinking about, realistically, if I need to hire for this project or this program, how long do I think that'll take? And really writing that in. It's probably not realistic to assume that I'll be hiring, someone a week after I get these funds, right? So really thinking about that and being thoughtful about your timeline and just the logistics of implementing a project if it's funded. Okay, I am going to, I think, stop and ask you all to ask questions. I think we may have some already in the chat. So I will start there, and then we'll invite folks to raise their hands with questions and come off mute and go ahead and ask. So our programs that include events eligible for funding. So Allie, yes, if you look at the, let me share my screen again. If you look at the different levels, we've provided some examples of like what, just to give people ideas and organizations kind of ideas of what they could use these funds for. In level 1 grants, we included things like, maybe there's a group that really wants to plan an event but doesn't have funding for it, and this may be a smaller group. It's not necessarily like a program they're looking to fund, lots of continued work, but there might be an event that they're looking to put on, and so they might need to get some funds for that. So it might be for like food, for entertainment, transportation, things like that. In for the higher level grants, I think they could certainly include events. I would just say, take a look at what we've included in here for level 2 and level 3 grants and think about, are we looking to put on an event that's going to be like $18,000? That may be, not something that's going to get funded, because that's a big amount of money for one event. But perhaps you're including some events or an event in your year of work, and you already know what that looks like, and so you want to incorporate it into your application. That's fine. All right, let's see. Would a program funded under last year's Age Strong grant qualify as recently started for purposes of meeting criteria for level 2 funding? Yes, so we are, I would say if a year ago you received the Expanding Engagement Grant and you created a new project or a new program with those funds, and that is a recently created program, I would say, yes. Is there a hard deadline for when the grant period must end? So that's a really good question. And the hard deadline will be a year after the funding starts. So the way that funding is set up for these grants is there are two, I think for level 1 funding, it may be a single payment. I can't remember where there's a threshold for in like number of payments. We have to issue 2 payments for larger grants. So I know that for level 2 and level 3 funding, it's going to be 2 different payments, but basically once you get your first payment, then a year from then is when we expect these funds to be used by. And we will also expect a summary, sort of an end of project summary. So we want to make sure that the project or programming that's been described in the application is completed by the end of that grant period. Would you consider more than one application from an organization that has multiple sites? Good question. Yes, I am very familiar with that question, I think, from you, Joanna. So I would say that is a good question. Let us jot this one down and get back to you. I think for an organization like ABCD, it might be the case where, if ABCD North and West End applies for a grant, and ABCD Mattapan applies for a grant, then we would look at those as, separate. They're in separate neighborhoods. I don't know if you're thinking like we'll apply for one grant for one of our locations within ABCD North and West End, and one, submitting 2 applications for your location alone. I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me talk to the commissioner and we'll get back to you on that one.
And Allison, just to clarify, excuse me, no, I just wanted to let you know, our site would hope to submit 1 application, not multiple. But I guess, as you know, with 3B, we have multiple applications. So if you could just let us know before we get to writing.
Oh, sure. Okay. So then if that's the case, then yes, I would say that we would consider, your one ABCD location is sort of run but as an individual. In my mind, when I think about your organization, it's located in different parts of the city, and like the ABCD that you're a part of is very much its own organization within the organization. So yes, I would say that if there are different ABCDs that apply, then we would consider multiple applications in that sense, certainly, because they're serving very different neighborhoods, very different populations, very different communities.
Okay, so like we do with 3B.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. I'll report back to leadership with that answer. Thank you, Allison.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so would you please explain what you consider social engagement? Yes, that is a great question and one that I should have been prepared for. And I think let me give you what I have now, and if I think of more to add to it, then we'll add it to our response in the Q&A document. So I think, when we think of social engagement, I think about opportunities for older adults to come together and socialize. So, in spaces that are accessible to older adults, where there may be like an event or an activity happening where that's drawing older adults to participate in something, and also to participate with other older adults. So, not like a one-on-one service, something that is like in a community location, where older adults are gathering or can gather. And I think the big emphasis is the social component. And, you know, just to go back to 3 years ago, when this sort of started with Creating Connections, the grant program that was sort of born out of the pandemic, and this realization that older adults were very isolated. I think, sorry, there is background noise. It's actually my office here, so apologies for that. And so we really want to make sure there's a social component there, and there is a place for multiple older adults to gather together. And again, let me think more about that, and we'll add to that answer. Could Community Healing Center be a partner on one application and the primary applicant for another project? That's a good question. I suppose it could. I think that it will. But yeah, I mean, I think it could, certainly, if there was an organization that is looking to bring in another organization for services, and that organization has this other idea to serve this other community, and this, you know, different group of older adults, then yes, I think where I would ask you to kind of think a little bit more is, would these funds, would these projects be serving different people? Because I think that's something that we are really thinking about, is making sure that these funds reach as many different older adults as possible. Would financial education workshop series for seniors be a viable grant option? I don't know the answer to that. Let me think about that. Let me get some input from my team and get back to, we'll put it on the Q&A doc. All right, I see one hand raised. Katrin Hawkins, if you'd like to take yourself off mute.
Yeah, hi. Thanks. Hi, I'm Katrin. And so I had kind of, I think it's a two-part question. So, you know, we were looking at some of the level 1 grant things, and, you know, saw that there was a note there about, you know, for example, funding transportation and things like that to programs. And we're an organization that, you know, serves a wide range of folks, you know, but we were wondering, because the list of different types of programs that was there, you know, really seemed to be folks that, you know, engaging older adults was their mission. And we were wondering if, you know, as an organization that has a broader scope of folks that we engage, you know, would this type of grant, you know, for a particular program, you know, that we're thinking about to funding, you know, for example, transportation or whatnot, would that be potentially something that would be considered, you know, a viable application? And then a follow-up to that is, you know, we do engage with a lot of different seniors from a volunteer perspective. And, you know, we've always been thinking about more ways that we can engage, you know, more older adults as volunteers from different communities. And is that type of something, you know, types of programs be something that would be funded as well?
Good questions. So to your first question, if you could, can you clarify what you mean? I think what I'm hearing is perhaps you're doing intergenerational work and you're serving not only older adults, and you'd like to see if these funds can go to perhaps serving consumers that aren't older adults. Is that right?
No. So for example, so we do history education programs, encouraging folks to explore different parts of Boston. And so, you know, one we were thinking is, like, it would be great if we had some funds to, you know, further engage some different, you know, senior centers who've wanted to contact with us, but then, you know, talk about how transportation to our programs that are, you know, geared towards their groups is challenging and difficult. So, you know, we're thinking, like, if we had some funding to help support, transportation, and they're, for example, hiring a bus or whatnot to help them get to the program, that would be for them. So it would be, about them both engaging with, the community and the neighborhood and with each other, but it would be a program just for, older adults. Does that help clarify?
I think so. So are you, well, it helps clarify a bit. So if you are you saying that if you are submitting an application for transportation to your programming, but the transportation is for older adults at senior centers, would that be okay?
That's not what she said.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused. Someone just said that's not what she said. So perhaps that person has a better way for
Please.
helping me to hear it. And I recognize that I am, I think the comprehension is probably on my end, so apologies. Did someone else understand that differently and could help me out?
So I don't know if this helps clarify. So for example, we do different programs throughout the city, and senior centers are, for example, one example of the groups that, we worked with through our community outreach programs. And, it wouldn't necessarily have to be limited to, a specific senior center, but would be working with different community groups and organizations who would like to come on our programs, but have trouble getting there.
Okay, then yeah, so I mean, I think that this transportation is listed as an idea for this level 1 grant, right? So we see this as a significant barrier for older adults is access because of limited transportation options. So yeah, I think that certainly would be a reasonable application.
Okay, thank you.
Request. Yeah, sorry for that.
No, I appreciate the clarification.
And can you repeat your second question again for me?
Yeah, it was about engaging seniors as volunteers.
Okay, so in terms of your question specific, are you asking like if you could write that into the application, or if that could be like a funding, like supporting older adults with stipends for volunteer work? Or
yeah, so the second question, more supporting older adults with stipends, or yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much, ways to further engage them as volunteers and encourage them and make a volunteering accessible to them.
Okay, so
You just go to the
I am,
finaglestore.com, you can order it right there and put in all your information.
let me respond to that. Let me clarify that question. I know that there are certain funds that are restricted in terms of things like stipends and gift cards. So let me confirm whether or not these funds are, and if that would be an option. So keep an eye out on the Q&A doc for that answer. But that should be a very simple, like, yes or no. So we'll let you know.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, so going back to the chat, if we are currently doing a one-to-one visiting program that would like to build upon it by bringing the older adults and visiting volunteers in the program together for group activities, does that count as new social engagement project? A new social engagement project? Yes, so I think it probably does. If this is a type of program or programming that is not happening yet, and it is going to bring people together into a group for social activities, then that seems to me like it is. I am with the YMCA Greater Boston. If a program is already receiving Age Strong funding, can we apply for this grant to expand the program into new neighborhoods, communities? Just wanted to confirm if being a current grantee is any issue. No, so I certainly, being a current grantee does not disqualify an applicant from submitting an application. Yeah, not at all. Go ahead and apply. All right, Nick, you have your hand raised.
Hi, I was going to piggyback on Nick. Thank you, Allison. I want to piggyback on my question with regards to financial literacy. We have relationships with Northeastern University, Northeastern Crossing, and 3 BCYF facilities that house or work with seniors. So Vine Street, Grove Hall, and Mildred Ave. So that's the reason why we asked, because they have a captive audience, and we want to try to reach to them in order to talk about things that would benefit them and also protect them.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I think like my gut is like, yes, that would be a type of program that would qualify for these funds. But I do just want to clarify that and make sure before I give you a definite yes. But thank you for that additional information. Johanna.
Thank you, Allison. So just to piggyback off, the other piggyback question is, if we wanted to continue the work for which we were funded last year, could we do so given that we try to get unique consumers or to do at other sites within the same neighborhood? I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, yes. So part of, as we were thinking about how do we write these level 2 and level 3 grant opportunities, we wanted to make sure that we were including the goal to serve more folks. So yes, I would say, if we would love to see applications that have details about a plan to reach individuals that are not currently being served by programming, even though the programming might already be in existence, or, I think that would probably fit into a level 2 grant, where, it's a newer, recently started project or program, that with these funds, not only would you continue that program, but you'd also conduct outreach to bring in some additional older adults.
Okay, and then is it ever okay, because I just hope we get all new, but you never know, is it okay to have any repeat consumers for these services?
Yeah, yes, I think
Okay.
that, when we think about these programs, it's, we can't, every dollar is not going to go to a new, work with and for a new consumer, right? So using the level 2 grants as an example, again, they're for programs that are already in existence, right? So in fact, all of these grant levels take that into account. We just want to make sure that there's effort being made to bring in new consumers, right? And that is being implemented. So yes, I think that is certainly, if you have, an painting class that you have 5 consumers that regularly come to, and these funds go to support the continuation and expansion of that class, then it is likely that these funds will partially be supporting those 5 consumers.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? These are some great questions.
Allison, I think there's a question from the chat that was missed.
Oh, okay.
It's like, are 501c4 groups eligible to apply?
Oh, thank you. I did not see that. Should we look for a sponsor? Good question. I do not know the answer to that. We will find out the answer and put it in the Q&A document. Thank you for catching that.
Allison, I can jump in on that one if helpful.
Oh, Rachel, yes,
Hi,
please do.
I'm here. Hi, everyone. My name's Rachel. I work in the finance cabinet here at the City of Boston. We cannot give grants to 501c4 organizations since they are oftentimes lobbying and are able to do political activities. So we ask 501c4 organizations to work with a fiscal sponsor if possible. And if there's any specific follow-up questions, feel free to send those to Allison, like in regards to the 501c4 or any of the finance side of things, and we can work with the rest of the finance team here to help answer them.
Thank you so much, Rachel. While you're here with us, there was a question that I know that you can answer. For these funds, I know we have some restrictions around like stipends and gift cards and things like that. There was a question about, you know, could an organization apply for a grant and include the project would be focused on older adult volunteer development and, you know, opportunities for older adults to volunteer. And could the budget include like a stipends for older adults with these funds?
Sure. So, one of our kind of rules that our law department has given us is that grants cannot fund gift cards. It's just not great for auditing and reporting purposes if we ever have to audit programs later down the road. Stipends are allowed, and we can work with you to figure out how to do that on your end, but usually that would look something like a direct payment from your organization to a constituent or someone that's helping run the program. And that just helps us with any auditing as it comes up later down the road.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Other questions? I see some hands raised. Katrin, you are at the top of my list. Do you have another question?
Yeah, so I know, you know, you talked about how the program's, you know, really wanting to engage a diverse and a wide-ranging group of, you know, older adults. And the question I have is, can it only engage adults in Boston and Boston kind of proper, or, you know, is it also, you know, if we were engaging adults, then, you know, having them engage here in the city, like, so, but they may not live directly in a zip code that is Boston proper.
Yeah, good question. So these projects are meant to serve Boston residents. So they need to, the services and activities through these projects and programs need to serve older adults who reside in a Boston neighborhood. Thank you. Sandra?
Thank you. Oops, came in a little late, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
Just clarification on the level 3 grants, if we're looking to sort of expand services or to solidify services we already have that it just started. It's a brand new program, but if we were looking to make sure that with funding going by from the state, that we are able to either, you know, continue to do 2 days or even if possible, if we get enough money, expand to a 3rd day. Is that type of, can we use that as funds? And can they be used for, I know they said stipends, but can we use them to pay workshop providers who are doing a 6-week workshop for us or things like that?
Yeah, so I would say if, you know, if it's a program that is newly created, recently created or new, that needs, you know, more like ramp up. I'm just really going to read from this: acceleration and broad expansion. Then I think that would qualify here to apply. And in terms of kind of how funding is used, I think it would be reasonable to, you know, if you're looking to bring in outside groups that might be, you know, leading an activity or, you know, some social engagement activity or event, then that would certainly be fine. Yeah, you know, I think like if an organization is looking to bring in someone who will lead like art classes, for example, I'll keep going to that.
Exercise class, you know, maybe doing an exercise or a dance class or something.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. Certainly.
Definitely social and healthy activities.
Yeah.
And the primary services, if our, you know, our site is located and it's meant to be, like you said, Boston, older Boston, occasionally we do have, but our primary services are set up for Boston. So if we have the occasional non, that's just the drop in, that's fine. Because I mean, the services set up primarily. And that's who we're serving, is our community, but. we do-
Yeah, so I guess I would say again, you know, these funds are City of Boston funds that are meant for City of Boston residents. You know, if there's a person who strolls into a class that's happening, I would say don't kick that person out. You know, if it's, you know, an older adult that comes to Brookline and shows up. But I would say, you know, these funds are meant
Right.
to serve Boston residents.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's our primary goal anyways for that, but we do have the occasional friend that comes along or somebody, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? All right. So thanks for all of your questions. They're really good. They're very thoughtful. Please send us more questions. If they come up, as they come up, send them to Sydney by email, please. Email is the best way to ask your questions because Sydney and I are both remote on some days, so we want to be able to address them as soon as possible. So please ask them. And again, please, as you're thinking about your projects and programs, think about implementation and how would this actually work? And you know, anticipating barriers and planning for that as you're writing out your plan. Awesome. So again, hopefully everything is easily accessible. Just go to the HStrong main page and you should be able to find everything. We'll include the recording from this meeting on that page, as well as the Q&A document once we've got it kind of ready to go. But give us a couple of days for that. And then I would say check back periodically to see what's been updated on it. And yeah, thank you all so much for your interest, and please submit applications. We're really excited to review them.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope everyone
you
has a
very
great
much.
day.
Thank you.
Wherever they are, they can put with themselves. They don't have to